Some days, there comes the Ugemobo Festival, which the Oba celebrates outside the palace gate. A pavilion is built of red cloth where rites are performed to drive away all evil spirits still unsatisfied by the year's sacrifices. The Emobo Festival is to commemorate an event in Benin history which dates back to 1504 AD.
Yari yari, Oba Tope!
The Oba of Benin added a colorful mood to the year's celebration as he walks round the city center amidst cheers.
the man went out to bring in thugs to come and beat her.
Yeah.
In a situation like that, do you think women would have seen that and still want to speak?
Really, we're talking
That's
about.
what I said. So
that's-
when they bullied her,
Yeah.
now, if she's not bold enough, she will shut up.
What is your advice for girls out there that are so desperate to be married?
We women, we have to be really intentional about our parenting.
If you know a child is being abused, or you see signs, a bruise or a child, it has to be investigated.
People barely even breathe when they are going for a shrebi and something.
Party.
You have to be
They can't
smart.
sit
If
down.
you see where they are dressing them up or dragging on both sides, you cannot you cannot breathe.
That's what
And these
happens.
women will stay in those events for hours just to keep up with that beauty trend.
Is that healthy?
That's not healthy.
I am Patricia Uremu Gabriels, and we're reaching you live from our Lagos Network studio. Of course, Women in Conversation is a program designed for women to discuss about themselves.
So nice to have you join us on your ultimate news and current affairs program on television, TMI, on the ITV network. And I'm Sonny Duke Okosun. With me from our Benin Network studio is the delectable, beautiful Chukwufunanya Adigwe. Good to have you on the show.
Many thanks for the encomiums this morning. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, Dr. Sonny Duke.
Absolutely. Of course, as usual, we have our colleagues joining us from our Abuja Network studio and our Lagos Network studio as we expand the scope of our conversation on the show this lovely Monday morning. Well, it's a count up to Christmas. 25th of December is the D-Day. A whole lot is happening in terms of the building up of momentum, but some say the state of the economy will bring in a lot of question marks around how Christmas will look like. But one thing that is not just, it's not just going to go away for a long time, except maybe now, is the issue of insecurity in the country. And one man whose name has been coming up strongly is the Minister of State for Defense, former governor of Zamfara State, Bello Matawalle. And he's been alleged to be involved in funding, supporting bandits, especially when he was in the saddle, even though he's come out to deny that clearly. But something quite striking, some of the top stories on some of our national dailies, lending some credence to that. Chukwufunanya.
Yes, I do believe that there is no smoke without fire, though. Each and every time the government comes out saying that they want to publish the list of politically affiliated persons that are funding terrorism and insurgency in the country, and somehow his name is eluded, but there is still a lot of talk around this, and the Zamfara State government under Dauda Lawal right now has come out to debunk this over and over, saying that it's a politically motivated rumor. But like I did say, there's really no smoke without fire, and someone that is in such an integral aspect of the security architecture in the country, I just believe that all of that talk should not be something that should taint his name, especially with how fragile Nigeria's security is right now. A lot of people saying, put him out of office. There's complaints from the social space, there's complaints from the people, there's complaints from even those in the government about this same person in this position. And some people are even saying, scrap the office altogether. What's he doing there, if not just eliciting these rumors and maybe allegedly even funding crime?
So much to talk about along those lines as we make progress on the show this lovely Monday morning. My colleagues are on standby. Just trying to see who is on now. Okay, we've got the delectable again. Not that delectable. I have so many delectable ladies around me on the TMI show. We've got Miss Helena. Miss Helena, good to have you on the show. Talk to us about the plans for Lagos and some of these challenges in the insecurity situation in the country?
Good morning, Sonny Jikokosu. Good morning, Chukum Funaya. And Merry Christmas in advance to you guys. All right, the issue of insecurity, like I would always say, has been a major problem in Nigeria. And the people want a lasting solution to this problem. And negotiating with bandits has been what a lot of persons have been talking about, Nigerians have been talking about, saying how can we be negotiating with bandits? I mean, the former Zamfara State Governor has come out to say that, you know, he denied the fact that he was negotiating with bandits and all of that. And some persons, you know, there are a lot of proofs, some persons coming out saying, what are you still doing in the office? Like Chukum Funaya said earlier, there is no fire without smoke, you know. There are some persons, a lot of speculation saying some of these government officials, some persons are negotiating with bandits, which is not supposed to be like that. I mean, we want a lasting solution to this problem. If you know the people that are doing this, you know, causing this harm to people, to kidnapping and all of that to Nigerians, why not bring them to book instead of negotiating with them? But basically from Lagos today, we saw that yesterday 8 ECOWAS summit starting, and we're going to be addressing the regional security, coup, democratic stability. And we saw where different West Africa, you know, some presidents were actually present there, and our Vice President Kashim Shettima, you know, represented our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the summit yesterday, and it has started, and they talked about the coup issue in Benin Republic, and they also talk about the insecurity in Nigeria coming together for this summit. Let's see what would happen to help, especially in Nigeria, for the insecurity. I mean, that is one of the major problems, and that is what our people want. We want a lasting solution to the problem. So basically from Lagos today, that is what we'll be talking about.
Patricia Gabriel is with you there. So Patricia can also give us her perspectives on this burgeoning problem of insecurity. Okay, maybe we will rejoin you much later. But I'm deeply concerned by the fact that that we have this challenge running for so many years. And like you said, there's usually no smoke without fire.
Where there's rumors, there's an element of truth.
And, you know, this issue really came to the fore now because for the former Zamfara State Governor, Bello Matawalle, those who are supposed to be in the know, first started with one Islamic scholar accusing him of funding banditry, supporting them, alleging that he even sometimes buys rustled cows, he gives them hillocks, he even beat a house, and all of these allegations. And then when he got ballistic against him, threatening to sue him, that's if he has not even gone to court. His former aide came out to say, look, if you sue the sheikh, I'm assuring the sheikh that I will be in court to present myself as a witness.
His aide,
yes, his aide, saying that he will be in court because many of the dealings, underhand dealings, this particular aide was at the forefront, either disbursing monies or receiving anything. I mean, literally acting as an intermediary between the former governor and the bandits. And the former governor is denying all of this. And that brings to question, why do we have people with questionable characters occupying such exalted position as Minister of State for Defense? Does it mean that security agents didn't profile him properly before he was appointed? And then you look at the case of El-Rufai. El-Rufai was denied the opportunity to serve as a minister because of the weighty allegations bordering on insecurity that was provided by security agents. So we see this sort of selective disposition in dealing with issues like this.
Yeah, it truly is funny. And just to correct something that I did say, the present governor of Zamfara State, Dauda Lawal, is constantly on his neck about this. Although people say it's politically motivated, but like I did say, there's no smoke without fire. He's coming to say this, and he's publicizing it out there. He's someone that has the know of the, you know, the legal sides of this.
Yeah.
He must have more to say.
Yeah.
These people have more to say,
Yeah.
but there is a restraint that, you know, the media and being sued, and they don't want to get into trouble and all of that, but still they're able to say this much. It means that the government should look into something like this, because the security architecture, like I did say, is something of a very fragile nature right now.
Yeah.
People are looking to the government for help, and then people in such positions having such a tainted reputation is really nothing to write home about.
It's still at the realms and levels of allegations and needs to be proven beyond reasonable doubt.
But do you not think that this is, at this point, with how much that this has been publicized, the presidency should come out to release a public statement that we are looking into this? At least recognize that the people are talking so much about this.
Yeah, of course, that's what is expected. And the only way we can unravel this is to carry out a very robust investigation. I mean, that's a little thing for the police to do if they really want to do it. That's a small thing for the DSS to do if they really want to do it. Even the army, all the various security agencies, they have the capacity to go and carry out a very robust
Funnily
investigation.
enough, he's not the only one. There is a line of them in the helms of affairs in Nigeria that we see have these allegations tainted all around them, talking about funding terrorism, funding the insurgency, and even pushing the Usman Dan Fodio movement right here in Nigeria.
Yeah, I mean, these issues have been there for a long time. They are really not new. But the concern is that as weighty as they are, even within the realms or the ambit of allegation, government should match words with action by going after these people if they've been proven guilty after thorough investigation. And the content of those investigations
what we've been asking for, what people are saying,
should be made public so that we are aware of what the investigation is all about, or the outcome of the investigation, so it doesn't look like which one. Because you said a while ago that Dauda Lawal, literally, that's the current governor,
he's always posting about
governor of Zamfara
Zamfara.
State, is on the neck of Bello Matawalle. You know, Dauda Lawal is still a member of the PDP, and Matawalle is a member of the APC. So you can see that political rivalry.
So it could, on the other hand, be a witch hunt.
Well, I don't know if it's a witch hunt, but this is just the stark reality. He has said for him to join the APC, Matawalle must be removed as the Minister of State for Defense against the background of this undercurrent of the weighty allegations of funding terrorism, of funding bandits. And
those are some very weighty allegations.
But those allegations need to be proven. And those who can prove it, one of them will find when we look at the papers this morning. It's still TMI on the ITV network. Of course, we will take a short break. When we return, we'll look at what the papers are saying. But just before the break, Joseph Kadri just joined the show. Joseph, you're in Abuja. I'm sure you're following the sequence of these events and activities, particularly as it relates to the challenge of insecurity in the country. One man has been in the news for such a long time, Bello Matawalle, Minister of State for Defense, former governor of Zamfara State. And I'm sure you have more to tell us about this for some of the followings that you've done on this issue.
Yeah, very good morning to you, dear colleagues. Welcome to this morning ITV. So much to talk about when it comes to the issue of insecurity. There is never an end to it. The day that we stop talking about insecurity will be that day that people can sleep with both eyes closed, people can travel at the dead of the night, people can walk around the nooks and crannies of this country, and that day the discussion about insecurity may be, kept aside. However, the issues at hand now really require some kind of proving beyond reasonable doubt. It is still at the doorstep of allegation, but we cannot separate the fact that these issues have been on the front burner for a long time. Many persons have pointed accusing finger at the Minister of State, but what the Nigerian state will do as far as our laws are concerned is he who alleges must prove. So the onus is on that man who have alleged. to come out and prove beyond reasonable doubt. However, these issues are really not palatable. We have to have a system whereby insecurity will be, dusted. You know, we shouldn't have pockets of it. Just yesterday, there are pockets of, adoption in Kogi State where worshippers from the Ekwa Church were taken away, although one of them was killed. Those are not news that are good to the ears. And all of that have been traced to the fact that these bad guys at some point or the other were invited, were sponsored to tackle their opponent, and at the end of the day, the man who brought them abandoned them. And so they had to fend for themselves. And that is the multiplier effect that we have been seeing over a long period of time. But we just hope that the Minister of State should also get his lawyers now, because this issue must be discussed, either in the public domain or in the courts.
All right, thank you very much. We'll rejoin you much later as we talk more on some of these issues. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll be looking at what the papers are saying. We've got our regular reviewer, Dr. Dan Ekharaifo, who is the head of Mass Communication Department, University of Benin, an associate professor of mass communication, will be joining us in a moment. Stay with us on TMI on the ITV network. Joining us on the program TMI on the ITV network. And let's look at what the papers are saying. One of the stories quite exciting to me because it lends some credence to the challenge of insecurity that has been on the front burner. But let me welcome our guest reviewer, Dr. Dan Ekharaifo. Dr. Dan, thank you for joining us on the show this lovely Monday morning. It's always a delight to have you on.
Good morning, Dr. Sonny. It's a pleasure to see you again after a while.
Okay, let's look at what we have on Vanguard newspaper. On the front page, it says, okay, this story is actually on page 5. It says, 2 former governors fueling insecurity. Who is saying this? The most wanted notorious bandit leader himself, talking about Bello Turji. And some of the writers there says, ex-governors responsible for long-running insecurity in the north. Admits peace talks, denies 30 million naira payoff. It's all lies, say governor sources. Security forces gunned down notorious bandit Kachala Nala in Sokoto State. That's a top story from Vanguard newspaper. You want more of that? Get a copy of the Vanguard. You see that story on page 5. More on Vanguard, you've got the story. It says, Dangote alleges sleaze at NMPDRA, demands investigation. All right, and then 1 week after NAV C-130 aircraft, 11 soldiers yet to be released. We're going to have a confrontation with Burkina Faso over this. Well, only time will tell. More juicy stories on Vanguard newspaper. Coups, ECOWAS vows to defend democracy. All right, and that's on page 8. And then you can get the NAF story on page 9. That statement is actually credited to the federal government. NDLEA burst bandits' drugs supply chain. naps fleeing supplier Gamboli in Niger. And then, of course, we have intercepts opioids bound for US, Canada, and Sweden. Super Eagles need better coaching to win AFCON 2025. And that's coming from Bonfrey Joe Eswan, Super Eagles coach. Dr. Dan, I'm sure the revelations by Bello Turchi should interest you the most of all the stories that we've looked at, especially against the background now. Bello Matawali is being accused of allegedly funding bandits when he was in the saddle as governor of Zamfara State.
Thank you very much. My reaction to that story is the fact that it has always been the public domain that individuals who have access to power and resources are the persons behind insecurity in Nigeria. I have discussed this issue with a friend by asking a simple question. Those who don't have money cannot buy AK-47. After all, AK-47 in the marketplace, black marketplace from 2 million naira. So those young men and women who are in the forest attacking Nigerians do not have such resources. Some will say money they get from kidnapping is what they use in buying all of this. But if you look at the totality, rocket propelled grenade and some of those equipment they use, there is somebody somewhere who has such resources. For Bello to say two former governors are involved, it is a confirmation of the fear many Nigerians have expressed about the powers that be behind the level of insecurity. The reason for all of this is that for many of these governors, it's a bargaining tool. When elections are coming, they sit on the table with the politician to say, if you must win this election, you must concede this to me. So that is the reason why they do all of this. Let's wait to see what the military intelligence team will do. I expect that by now, they should be able to locate Bello Turji. Either they put him an end to him or get him arrested so that more revelations will come.
Okay, so now let's take a look at our next paper this morning. We'll take a look at Daily Independent. Major headline right there on Daily Independent newspaper is on the festive season. It says Nigerian banks on high alert as year-end digital fraud surges. That's a major headline on Daily Independent. Also, you get to see a recurrent headline, Dangote alleges sleaze at NMDPRA, demands probe. A rider says petrol to fall below 740 naira per litre before Christmas. You get to read all about that on page 7. Also on Daily Independent, you see Mark, Atiku, Obi, others lament politicization of state institutions. That's on page 6. Also on Daily Independent, you see Serap threatens contempt suit against AGF over non-enforcement of 6 trillion naira NDDC judgment. Also on page 6, Boa Group shares 30 billion naira to staff during Excellence Long Service. And you also see on Daily Independent, ECOWAS leaders forge united front against coups, insecurity, adopt measures to reduce costs of air travel across region. Dangote emerges chairman of ECOWAS Business Council. All those stories, you get to read all about them on Daily Independent. And now we'll also get to go back to our guest reviewer to get his insights on the major headlines on Daily Independent there. Over to you, Dr. Dan.
Yes, I'm going to talk on two issues, the ECOWAS agreement on reducing airfare and forming a united front against coup. From what happened in Benin Republic is a reassurance that if concerted efforts are taken, we can curb the level of coups in the West Africa sub-region. But there is a question that is begging for an answer. Why are the military guys asking for coup? For instance, the man in Benin Republic who called the assistance of Nigeria to seek military intervention to prevent the coup in Benin Republic. He has been on the saddle for about 7 or 8 years now. The question is, what is the level of impact? In all other places where coup took place, it was a product, it was a failure of governance and leadership. So if a society, the level of expectations from those in the ruling class is not what the citizens are getting, and there is high level of agitation, the military guys will always think coming back to power is the best way of reassuring citizens that there is hope. So my think is that there is a need for ECOWAS leaders to promote good governance if they must stop cases of coup. There was a lamentation last week about the rising cost of airfare, especially this season. What we need to do is to ask ourselves, why is it that during the Yuletide season, airfares are always on the very high side? If ECOWAS leaders are taking in this direction, it will bring succor to travelers and help us build a more united Nigeria. I will talk about the Dangote issue as we progress with the review. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Dan. Let's look at the Punch newspaper. And our first story there says, petrol price war turns dirty as Dangote attacks NMDPRA boss. That's on page 33. You'll find it on page 33 of the Punch newspaper. Crisis hits obese LP faction after BOT sacks National Working Committee. You want more of these stories? Get a copy of the Punch. Car imports rebound hit 1 trillion naira in 9 months. Revised tariffs, stable naira drive rebound. U.S. remains Nigeria's top vehicle source. More stories on that. You get a copy of the Punch. And then coups. Tinubu rallies ECOWAS leaders. Benin detains ex-president's son. And then, of course, Bayelsa PDP backs Diri's autopsy order on late deputy governor. Okay, so let's get back to you, Dr. Dan. Give us your insight to some of these stories, beginning with the Dangote word of words with the NMPDRA boss over petrol price.
Generally, the general feeling is that with the fall in the price of international crude, the expectation was that the prices of petroleum products in Nigeria will reduce. But for a long time, they remain very stable because no deliberate attempt was made by the regulator to address the issue. But Dangote, thinking towards Nigeria, as we will say, decided to reduce the price. When he alleges that there is a sleaze in that agency, what I suspect is a case of, oh, we need to reduce prices, and the independent marketers say, no, let's leave the prices at that. It's a general problem with the Nigeria environment. Look at the prices of bread. They remain at 2,000 naira, 2,000 plus, whereas the price of wheat has fallen down to less than 45,000 naira. Contrary to the 80,000 or 90,000 they were buying a bag of wheat when the price was the bag was very high. Why have they not reduced the price? It's the same thing with the petroleum industry, where people who are regulators, maybe because of kickback from some of these independent marketers, there is no deliberate attempt or will to say, let's reduce the price. So for Dangote to come up with this allegation is a fact that this has been going on for a very long time. People are concerned about their private pockets. We're not thinking about the common good or making life easy for Nigeria. I will challenge the president to set up a team to investigate allegations of this nature. Crisis or issues Nigerians are raising with this government is that the cost of living is high. If the prices of petrol are down, it will trickle down to other sectors of the economy. I will call for a probe into that allegation.
And for your disposition on that one. Now to our next point of call, we'll look at New Telegraph newspapers. One major headline there is in the business scene. It says Nigeria's exports to African countries up 37% to 9.72 trillion naira. Also in the business scene, it says Nigeria records 3.6 trillion naira from global cocoa sales. That story is on page 17. Also on New Telegraph newspaper, you get to see Federal government bans admission, transfer of students into SS3 to curb examination malpractice. Also, Plateau, 4 children killed in Barkin Ladi attack. Obi, persistent insecurity, failure of leadership. That's what he says, and that is on page 2 and 28 of New Telegraph newspaper. Now, another one is on Egrujakbo's death. Diri seeks autopsy. Oboriwori condoles governor and family. Bayel Sands. That's on page 5 and 6 of New Telegraph newspaper. On the foreign scene, you get to see mass shootings in Australia. U.S. leave 13 dead, dozens hospitalized. U.S. offering illegal immigrants $1,000 free flights to leave. Well, that particular story is on page 3 and 4 of New Telegraph newspaper. Also there, you see Tinubu's order stopping police protection for VIP splits lawyers on page 14 and 16. Those are some of the stories on New Telegraph newspapers. Dr. Dan, it's over to you now.
Yes, if you look at the major headline of the News Telegraph, it has to do with the rising cases of Nigeria-grounded aircraft across different countries of the world. This is rising from the C-130 aircraft that landed in Burkina Faso due to some technical issues. One of the questions we should ask ourselves is, why is it that our leaders are not strong when it comes to diplomacy? Why is it that when it comes to public assets, we don't care? I believe the case of the C-130 aircraft with the Burkina Faso government will be resolved on time. But there are other cases of Nigeria Airlines, either failure to pay demurrage, BASA issues not acceded to and all that. It's also a failure of diplomacy. There are issues that you can sit down around the table and talk over and you get a solution. But most of the time, either because the governor or the government in power is not the regime that initiated some of those things, there is a little attention given to this. Government spend resources in acquiring all of this. There is a need for us to put on our thinking cap and address this issue headlong. After all, if you lose your major asset to a foreign nation, the implication is that you continue to spend resources trying to acquire new ones, whereas the ones you have that you could have maintained, you could have used them for some better, we could have put them into better use. But since we are not taking in this direction, the problem continues again and again. I will also talk about the issue of Diri's deputy governor that passed on. Whether you do an autopsy, it will not bring the man back. Are they suggesting now that some elements were responsible? The initial report was that the man died of, is it heart attack? Or he's a workaholic who have very little time to rest. These are all stories. But let's see what the autopsy will present. But even if the autopsy comes, it does not suggest that the man will come back to life. And that is just another way of running away from the reality about the whole issue. You recall that in the event leading to this man's death, the governor moved to a different party and he refused to move. And the State House of Assembly threatened him with impeachment. I think that would have aggravated his health. Again, it speaks volume about our attitude to politics, where governors will always want their deputy to follow them when they move from one party to another. Okay. A friend of mine jokingly asked me, if you are following an organ.
Okay, a bit of a network glitch there. I hope Dr. Dan can reconnect and continue with the conversation. But let's quickly go straight to Guardian, our last paper for review today. On the front page, okay, this is actually on page 6. It says, Buhari's legacy on trial as Emefiele ex-ministers face 3.5 trillion naira graft probe. And now you can see all the beautiful faces of those involved in this 3.5 million naira graft probe, allegedly. You can see all of them there. Some of them I can mention. Mayfield, you already know. Chris Ngige joined recently. And then, of course, the man that has been on the run, allegedly too, Timipre Seva, and of course, wife, this is also a former minister, all right, and several of them, all right. So big questions, but let's see what happens with all this probe. And then we've got Nigeria's power reform stalls as tariff politics, 4 trillion naira debt deepen sector's crisis. All right, Oshu 2026, Adeleke J3 says APC as INEC dismisses factional AP candidate. FRIS kicks as Northern Elders condemn tax data deal with France. Center warns against one-party state, cites Zimbabwe example, others. FG bans admission transfer of students into SS3 special centers. 21 years later, unions renew call for Nigeria Airways retirees severance pay 21 years later. That's why when people have the opportunity while as civil servants, they just want to grab and grab so they don't go through all of this. Now, Dr. Dan, good to have you back. You can see the faces of the legacies of former President Muhammadu Buhari, those being probed now for their involvement in the 3.5 trillion naira probe, allegedly.
Well, I am not surprised saying this. You recall that during the Buhari's government, one of the occurring issues was the president's attitude to cases of allegations of corruption with his ministers. It was a top issue during his government. People consider the Buhari government as a free-for-all, in that those who were holding leadership position did not care. Those who could help themselves. The court case against Emefiele speaks volume of these allegations. We wait to see what the courts will decide. But my only worry is that graft allegations in Nigeria drag off for too long. When you expect that within a space of 5 months, this issue will have been disposed with. You will now have a situation where government officials, the court, keep dragging the case again and again, and people will now lose interest. Now that it's hot, let the court do the needful. The new policy of government regarding non-transfer of students from a lower class to transfer to SS3, you will say is a welcome development. Until we're able to curb the miracle centers associated with examinations in Nigeria, that issue will not be addressed. There are still miracle centers. The education authorities know this these principals or proprietors who do all of this. But you can be rest assured that when the proprietors offer something huge, the officer in charge will turn the eye the other way. So it's like saying, oh, this is what we're going to do. When it's time for action, government will not do anything. I don't think that one will produce the right result. They are just wasting their time.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Dan. Thank you so much for your time, as always. We truly appreciate.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning again, and it's the TMI, lovely Monday morning. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll get the conversation segments on course. Please stay tuned. network is a gale of defection. I mean, it's unending, and probably maybe a day to the 2026 general election, probably will have more defections. The latest being the governor of, I'm trying to remember the state now. Taraba State, yes, Kefas, who's joined the APC. There should be something about the APC that is pulling everybody in. Could it be the performance, high level of performance of Mr. President? Could it be the level of democratic tenets that the party is known for? Could it be that there's this political dichotomy between the North and the South that is driving all of these? Some of the questions our guests here will be giving us perspectives on. But let me welcome Christopher Ojekere, who is now the ADC spokesman at the state chapter. Thank you for joining us, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Sonny.
We also have with us here an APC chieftain, Evingare Osa Kindness. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure to be here.
All right, let me start with Chris. Yeah, we're here now, and we've seen all the defections. Many of the defectors are citing one reason, one major reason: the performance of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as being the pull for them to come into the party.
Well, apart from the word performance, did they bother to put any illustrative description to the word performance? Because, you know, performance as a word standing alone, if I get up here now and I slap you and we fight here, that's a form of performance. So, do they mean performance of debt increase? Or performance of the fact that the president for 2 years have not been able to, you know, execute a budget that was signed by himself into law? The 2025 budget has not been implemented. The president wants to borrow to fund the 2026 budget. Is that what they mean by performance? Or increase tariffs in electricity, in telecommunication? Is that what they mean by performance? So when they say performance, we'll come back to performance, but I also have evidence of at least 2 governors who have given us reasons why they defected. The Delta State Governor, Bororie, sorry if I mispronounced, told us when he defected that because they cannot fight the president in 2027, that is why they were defected. It's on record. It's on the news. That because they cannot fight the president in 2027. And Fubara just told us that he defected because he wants to at least be able to bring peace to Rivers State. Because while he had not submitted or defected, he had no peace for one single day. A governor was elected, but the ruling party will not give him peace because he has not joined the APC. So Fubara said, I had to defect to at least give peace to Rivers State. Okay. For the reason why I was, so at least those are 2 evidence from 2 governors. Now those who speak about performance, the only performance Nigerians know about this government is the performance of failure. Is the performance where, as I said earlier, for 2 years, and I want to find out from legal expert and the legislator whether that's not an impeachable offense.
Okay, let me push it
money.
Let me push it there, Chris. Let me push it. I'll come back to you. APC has become the beautiful bride today. I'm sure this excites you, Kindness.
Of course, we have. Well, I was commending Ojekere and congratulate you on your recent appointment as the spokesperson for APC, and I can say that you are doing very well and trying to impress those who repose implicit confidence in you. And I want to congratulate you. You are a good man. But just to say that we want to streamline this conversation to 2 principal issues. First, performance. Second, defection. Defection, first of all, is part of our politics. It has become a political culture for us in Africa, and of course, Nigeria in particular. That is not new, except those who want to be economical with the truth. And talking about performance, why are they moving? He make reference to Fubara, who said he has not enjoyed peace. I didn't hear that, but let's assume that he's correct. The peace that Fubara didn't enjoy, was it coming from APC? It was an internal wrangling and fights between themselves within the party. And he said, I have to move away from this party that has constantly given me trouble and move to a place where I can have peace, which is the APC. I'm talking about performance. The governors have sufficient information that is not readily in the public domain in terms of what the president is doing compared to what they are saying over time. And that is why they feel that the president is performing. And you agree with me that how do you, the states are subnationals, and it is what they get from the national treasury that they use in executing projects at the state level. And they have seen improvement in the level of funds that have been raised over the last 2 years, how much they have gotten, compared to what they have gotten over the time. So that's what many of them refer to as performance of the president. And you can see that it's trickling down to development at the state level across the country. It may not be visible just now because the things that took a lot of years to spoil, it will take more time to put it together. But what the president is doing, the state governors are aware. They are seeing it. They are seeing it in the level of chunk of money they now receive from the federal from the federal government that is trickling down to development at their state level. And of course, when he says that he cannot fight the president, it does not actually mean physical fight. It only means that he cannot compete with the president, given what the president has done. And there's no basis for them to compete.
All right, Chris, let's begin to unbundle this performance, which you highlighted a while ago. Mr. President, came on board with the statement of fuel subsidy removal, and of course, things change rapidly. It depends on the side of the divide that you're in. For those who are hailing him for doing that, we're seeing more money come to the states. It's a different kettle of fish, whether the states that are receiving these monies, whether they are using it judiciously to better the lots of the people. On the other side, you also look at the cost of living, which also has, increased astronomically, particularly with the rise in inflation. But politically, there are concerns about Nigeria gravitating towards a one-party state. Does that suffice for this discussion?
The truth of the matter is that there's such a plethora of ill and maladministration of this present regime that is difficult to keep track. Now, more money are coming to the state, he says, which is supposed to be that the APC government in the state, the subnationals, should use this money for development. In Edo State, we had such money. The state government bought vehicles for his party chairman, a bulletproof Jeep. That's what Tenebe is driving now. Probably part of it is why you got this beautiful suit. Then he bought vehicles for local government, chairmen. And now there's a case in the court where the Osun State government took the federal government to court. And the Supreme Court pronounced that government has not given effect to the pronouncement where you should have fiscal responsibility for local governments. So the money that is coming to the state certainly is not getting to the local government, stopping at the governors. So that the governors can buy more car for its officials, because it's all about 2027. Now, going back to security, which is part of what that money is supposed to be meant for. In Edo State in the past 2 weeks, the kind of tension and insecurity that we've had in this state, in Ekpoma, you had in broad daylight, gun-toting young men went into a store, a big departmental store, shot down everybody and even killed a policeman. We know of those police, the so-called kidnapping rescue team that the governor set up, who were coming from where they supposedly had gone to rescue or to go and arrest kingpins of kidnappers. And we are all gunned down because they probably went there with machete and batons. 4 policemen died in that. They're hushing that up, but it's in the public space. So when you say more money is there to do what? To make Nigerians suffer more. What is more money supposed to mean? It's supposed to mean that the government shouldn't be borrowing. We have had a government that has borrowed more in 2 years than his previous predecessor had borrowed in 8 years. And it's still counting. We have a government that has misplaced priority on everything. The pipeline vandalization, which, we got security apparatus for to protect our pipelines, in 1 year had less than 1 million as the money that they were charging the federal government. in Tinubu's regime is 17 point something million in 1 year. Trillion, sorry. Had less than 1 trillion in 1 year. That was what the pipeline, what do you call them? The people you put in charge of pipeline security was taking. In Tinubu's government, in the same 1 year, is 17 point something trillion.
How do you substantiate this, Chris Ojekere?
I mean, these are public documents in public domain.
Yeah, but do you have a copy of the document?
I don't have it. If you ask me, I will bring it for you. It's the government itself who said it. That they spent 17 point something trillion in protecting their pipeline in 1 year. So it's a government, I said it's such a plethora, you don't even know where to start from. Do you know of anybody who bid that for the so-called, what do you call it, 700 kilometer coastal road? We don't know who bid that for it. It's Tinubu's family. 15 trillion was budgeted for that road. And up to now, no journalist can tell me that this is the state of the road. Have you been allowed to see it? It is the other that gives us information. There are a lot of journalists to go to the road. Nobody knows.
The road was temporarily opened recently for people to have access to it.
It was kept open, and we were told that just 2 kilometers, 30 kilometers have cost us 2 trillion.
Okay.
For 30 kilometers, 2 trillion. So you say you remove subsidy so that you can shut off funds. And you even boasted that you are not going to borrow to fund budget. 2025 budget has not been funded. 2026 budget, you want to borrow to fund it. And you said you remove subsidy for that. All the shut-up funds that this government have made, where are they?
Okay. All right, let me
so, hold on, I will tell you where they are.
Yeah.
They were spent in renovating the VP's lodge for 21 billion naira. I don't know up to now whether the VP has lived in that lodge. They were spent in buying Escalade, in buying yachts, in taking 4,000 people to a so-called climate change seminar abroad. That's what they have been spent for. They have been spent to maintain the security that Guy Sheikh Tinubu, that has such security that Shoinka was embarrassed, and Shoinka said the government didn't need to send Nigerian army to the Republic of Benin. Tinubu's army would have done that. That's what they are spent for. It's a government, right now I'm told they want to build a BOI branch. I've forgotten the figure. In Lagos, you have an exclusive BOI bank in Abuja. So nobody knows Tinubu's agenda.
Okay, let me pause it there, Chris. I'll come back to you. Let me get your take on some of these issues that have been raised by Chris.
Well, I have said here, Duke, that when we find ourselves in this platform, we must first of all realize that we are Nigerians, and that our opinions here form the opinion of several persons who are listening to us. And we cannot say on the basis of our political divide that we come on air and make bogus statements that you cannot in any way substantiate just because you are on the other side of the political divide. For direct response to some of the issues he has raised, as per how government is funding its budget, you know, Ojekere Chris has no way to substantiate some of those statements he has made. They are not in anywhere, in any document, anywhere in Nigeria that he can raise. And I dare him to bring out those documents, and we'll come here again to discuss them. I dare you to do so. He's talking about the Coastal Railway, which is one of the biggest projects in the history of this country that the government is daring to do. And he says he has left the beautiful project and its impact on Nigerians. He's looking at those who didn't bid for it. In any case, are Tinubu family members forbidden by law or by the constitution from bidding for a project? Are they not Nigerians? The question we should be answering or discussing is, are those projects laudable projects? Are they having direct impact on Nigeria? You are talking about the funding and how much was spent on it. Can you confirm how much was spent per kilometer? In any case, if you say you want to confirm how much was spent per kilometer, you have no way to, you don't have no access to the document to confirm how much was spent. But what I think we should concern ourselves about is that this project, how are they affecting Nigerians? Of what importance is it to Nigeria? Which government has dared to embark on such projects in the history of this country? It is because a man has taken the bull by the horn to do what others have refused to do. Well, are there difficulties in Nigeria? I always said yes. Have we gotten to where we ought to be? The answer is no. Is everything okay for all Nigerians? I attend the same market that your family attend. Is it easy for me? No. But what we are saying that today Nigeria is paying the price for a better future. And one man, because one man dared to do what others are afraid to do. And we must commend Mr. President.
Okay, now if we have some of these projects being shrouded in secrecy, particularly as it relates to their cost, isn't that something that should be of concern to Nigeria? How do we measure the quality of what has been done or the extent of what has been done in terms of the resources that are coming? Because questions have been asked over again about the cost of this project. Nobody is ready to make that public. Are you also saying that, I mean, that really shouldn't be something we should be bothered about? We should be more concerned about the direct impact on the lives of the people?
I have not said that I'm in support of the costs of this project.
Okay.
You know, being shrouded in secrecy. That is not my point. What I'm saying is that we must draw attention away from things that are of less importance to what is more important. More fundamentally, you and I do not have access to this information.
Why shouldn't we have access to this information?
Those who have this information, we have not bothered to ask them to provide those information, and they have refused to provide those informations. I think you, the press, have responsibility to question those who are handling this project. But my take on this matter is that we should not lay more emphasis on these things that are superficial and leave those things that are more important, which is the effect of these projects on the ordinary Nigerian. Because the principal duty or role of government is to provide security, is to provide enabling environment, thriving environment for businesses, which I think is what these projects tend to bring to Nigeria.
Yes, Chris, you wanted to add something to
Yes, I wanted to tell him that I agree with him on the last thing he said, that the primary role of government is to provide security and welfare. If the government was doing that, then his logical argument that we should pay less, which I don't agree with, we should pay less emphasis, he might even just have a point. But he doesn't have any point either way. First, the government is not providing the security, and it's not providing the welfare. And then you are saying that we should also close our eye to the corruption in government. That's what you are saying indirectly. Because you are dealing with public funds. In January of this year, you'll be paying Chris,
Ojekere does not have an information. Does not mean that this information is not available.
Hold on. Let's just take it one at a time. Chris,
It is the responsibility of government to give accountability to the public and citizens whose taxes they are using to execute projects.
True.
Are you following me? So if that information is there in the public space, I would have it. The information is not there in the public space. If you bring the Mahi here now to tell us how much per kilometer on that 4 trillion road, you have 3 different figures before he finishes a program. Sometimes it's 4 billion, the other time it's 8 billion. Mahi has been interviewed several times. He can give us per kilometer how much it costs. So the point I'm making to you is this. In January of this year, you'll be paying 20% taxes if you have 800,000 naira in your account. You'll be paying 20% on that. These are all taxes and tariffs coming to government, and then everything the government does is shrouded in secrecy. The public cannot see what you are investing on. I can tell you 6 economies which the government should invest in for any serious nation, but Tinubu has not invested 1 kobo in any of these economies. So what he's just doing is collecting taxes. We are seeing the opulence of his children. We are seeing how he wants to take over the markets so that he can get more taxes. That's why you have Iyaloja troubling us here in the state, so they can get more taxes from our market women. And then what are you doing with it? The point is that the government is doing nothing with it. It's pretending. You said his primary duty is to provide security. Can he provide security? Nigeria is the most insecure place. You have to now take America to remind the president that Nigerians are dying by the thousands on a daily basis. Genocide against all Nigerians, against Christians and against Muslims. Now, I was reading just recently, a few days ago, and that story touched my heart. I said I should say it here. Hassan, I think his name is something Hassan, who is the son of a civil servant in Kebbi State that has been under detention, under custody of bandits for 70 days. They have taken about 30 million there. They requested for about 70 million. And the bandits said they should pay more. The guy, when he was talking, said one of the women that was released by the bandits to another group He said, when I saw that woman, I said, such things should not happen to a human being. And I laughed because that thing is happening every day in Edo State. Every day in Edo State. If you know the horrendous experience people are passing through under the hands of bandits and terrorists in Owan Forest, in Eastern Forest, in Ovia Forest. It's happening every day in Edo State. The government is totally unconcerned about that. He does not feel any sense of responsibility towards the Nigerian citizenry. That's the anger. You are making money from us, but you have no sense of responsibility. Nigerians are unprotected. We are vulnerable to everybody and everything that decides to attack us.
So if you say the government has no sense of responsibility,
yes.
We've seen government approving appointments of more security agents. We've seen government also withdrawing police from VIPs. We have seen government doing a whole lot of things to ameliorate the plight of Nigeria in terms of the insecurity situation.
So let's give Donald Trump a big clap. All right. Because all of these things you mentioned has been in the past 1 month after Donald Trump have
at least something has been done.
Yes, I mean, all right. So that justifies why Trump has to do more.
Let me quickly respond to some of the issues.
Okay, go ahead, please.
First of all, on the issue of security, it affects every one of us, whether you are in party A or party B. And because of my conscience and what I believe in, I cannot say here that in terms of security, we will have Uhuru, whether at the state level or at the national level. Okay. But my take is that what is the government doing in this regard? What is the role of government? First of all, the president has just approved the recruitment of 50,000 police officers to join the already existing police officers. That is a step in the right direction. The president has, for the first time, said that all VIPs, all policemen that are guiding VIPs, over 11,000 policemen have been withdrawn so far. That is a step in the right direction. So sometimes it is painful that we are dealing with some of the issues we are dealing with, that people have criminalized banditry and criminalized kidnapping, and government has responsibility to protect every citizen. But while we condemn the actions of those who have decided to commercialize this trade, we must again give kudos where it is necessary to government for the role they are taking. For example, Edo State government has purchased or procured over 70 Hilux vans for police in the last 1 year. All security agencies put together. That is a step that the government is taking. There is bike. Over 300 bikes have been procured to police the interior villages where vehicles cannot go to. That is a step in the right direction. So while you condemn the actions of government, you must be able to give direction to the public as to the steps government is taking to police the entire state so that everybody can be safe.
All right.
And we must
all right. Just before we call it a wrap, gentlemen, there's an issue that has been trending in recent times. The Minister of State for Defense is being accused of funding banditry, especially when he was in the saddle in Zamfara State as the governor. A certain Islamic scholar came all out and made these weighty allegations, and he's even challenged him to take him to court. And then before that dust could settle, one of his aides came out to say he will be willing to bear witness in court if the man in question is willing to take the Islamic scholar to court over these weighty allegations. And we just saw this morning one of the most notorious bandits in Nigeria, Bello Turji, saying 2 former governors, 2 ex-governors are responsible for why this insecurity has lasted so long. I don't know if he's talking specifically about Zamfara State or generally speaking, but this is where we are. What's your take on this? What should Mr. President do in this regard? Let me begin with you, Kindness.
Well, first of all, it has been established over time that if the level of insecurity that we are having today persists for longer time, it's an indication of the fact that there is an insider who is a strong man, whether in government or outside government. That has since been established. And it has been on continuously in Nigeria. And this revelation that is coming, for me, it is something that the government must look into critically. And I have confidence that Mr. President will look into this. You see what happened recently, that the the Minister for Defense has to resign. Though the reason for his resignation, he attributed to health. But we don't have details for his resignation. But I believe that it's all part of government decision, government steps to ensure that security take preeminence in terms of priority, and which the government is doing. And I think that this issue that has been raised, particularly looking at somebody coming out to accuse a sitting minister and a notorious renowned bandit also came out to say that two governors,
former governors, ex-governors,
are the reasons these banditries persist in Nigeria. I think Mr. President must wake up to his responsibility to take this up and take the bull by the horn. Right. And if anybody, whether as part of his government, currently or before, it must be dealt with. You saw now that Mr. Chris Ngige is currently facing trial. Yes. Malami is also facing trial. Yeah. Why those people? Chris Ngige is a member of APC. So if you say that Malami is witch hunting, what will you say about Chris Ngige? So you see, government is taking steps to ensure that things...
All right, Chris, let me get your party shot on
this. Well, the president had better hurry because America is waiting and watching. Because this question about people in government becoming members of terror, what do you call the bandits and terrorists, it's like a broken record. It's been there. Generals have come out to say they had Boko Haram inside, they were going to finish them. Others came from above. Some said they arrested ISWAP, handed it over to government. They were retired the next day. So governments in the north and then government in the federal have been complicit. We have seen on video where the terrorists themselves say, we don't know, we are Fulanis, we use bow and arrow, we didn't know AK-47, the government has supplied it to us. And we saw a recent demonstration where girls were kidnapped. And then the Bayo Nanuga came out to say, we called them to say they should release the girls, and they have released the girls. Also, you have such rapport with these people? And then we saw the video of the terrorists telling the girls, did we hurt you? Did we harm you? Are we not releasing you now? So it is very clear to the blind that the government is involved. For whatever reason Tinubu is involved, he has to tell Nigerians. If he's being held in the jugular and being held to ransom, if it is a covenant he made with them before he became governor, let him tell us. That's what America is asking him to do. They've given him the order. He has the names of those who sponsor terrorism. He has the names. Publish it. So all these questions of, it sounds like a broken record. We know. If he doesn't know, we know. There have been armies that have military personnel that have gone AWOL, and then they come up with podcasts, and they tell us what is happening in the army. We've seen videos of army crying in the field, saying, look at how they kill us, they send us here without bullets, they send us here without that. So we know the government is involved. What the government needs to do is to ask Nigerians to help him to de-involve, so to speak, if I may use that word, to extricate himself from the covenant that he made with them. That's why Turji is speaking now, because Turji is more discerning. Turji knows that they are coming. And so he now wants to play the role of being, we call him the most notorious man. He's made more comments on terrorism in the past 2 weeks than government officials. Yeah.
I think every Nigeria today is on the same page in terms of insecurity in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Whether you are here or there. Yeah. You know, that a brigadier general should die in a manner in which he dies. Given the information that came out from him to those who are supposed to protect him, and you know, the information got to the wrong hands, and he had to be killed.
Okay.
All those are indications that
okay.
We have
all right. Let's
issues with.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time.
Okay.
If I have one part, we'll continue conversation. Lancelot Odua Imaswe, celebrated movie producer, director, is still in the euphoria of his 3 decades in Nollywood. We'll be talking with him in just a moment. Stay with us.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Healthy Living. What is the kidney?
The kidney is an excretory organ in the body, which is for metabolism.
Tuberculosis affects many organs in the body, but the common ones it usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain, which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits.
It is curable, but the cure is a long-term thing.
If you eat well,
Thanks again for rejoining us on the show. We're celebrating Lancelot Oduare Imaswe, Ambassador, High Chief Ambassador Dr. Lancelot Oduare Imaswe, aka the Governor. 30 years in Nollywood, producing, directing, acting, creating, and all of that is certainly not a mean feat. I want to say big congratulations to you once again.
Thank you so much.
Big congratulations.
Thank
So
you so
how does it feel like, celebrating 30 years in Nollywood? How's the journey been like? Is it like after 30 years you're retiring, or you're fired or even more to do more?
For me, I position 30 years as 3 years of starting, and now some huge, bigger mark needs to be made, particularly in the area of mentoring, in the area of inspiring,
the next
generation, of motivating, and that's where, in fact, the 30 years anniversary was actually centered around the next generation. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what now, looking back, what was the journey like for you starting this business? Was this something you've always loved to do? You wanted to do, or it was a coincidence?
No, for me, art wasn't a coincidence. Art has been my life. It started as early as 9 years old. But that it would be a profession and living on it wasn't designed. But the way God had planned it for me, that's the way it has gone. But my love for art, my involvement, has been more organic, more spiritual than physical, and that's the way it is. So very early in life, I realized and discovered that this is what I wanted to do. So now, letting people see me and say, oh, wow, I was a child when I started watching you. I say, me, I'm not a child. So there's the business of starting early, and that's one thing that had worked for me here. I decided to say this is what I wanted to do, was an early decision, and I've never looked back.
All right. What were those challenges you encountered, and how were you able to surmount them? Lessons for those who are in the industry now, maybe those who are also aspiring to be like you.
This generation, they are very lucky because now there are people to look up to. There are people they want to be like. There are people now that parents bring their children. But then we used to sneak out of the window to go perform in theaters and all of that. You can't boldly tell your parent that, hey, I want to be an actor, or I want to be a filmmaker, because they don't even know what that means. You are not reading law, medicine, engineering, and all that. Then you are not a serious child. You cannot go and tell your parent, I want to go and play football. You regress, it can't happen. So, or say, what do you want to be? I want to be an actor. But today you go to schools and tell children, I want to do this, I want to do that, and you get the support. So the challenges have been enormous, because primarily we had no motivation. There was nobody to inspire us. There was nobody to look up to. We were just going blindly. Like I often say, we went into the forest, there was no path. So we armed ourselves, but there was even no cutlass to clear a path. So all you could get was shrubs and all that, and keep hitting and all that. And suddenly we were able to pave a way. So the challenges were quite.
Does that mean you don't have role models, people who you looked up to, in the
industry? It's even during practice. Like, I can't help but salute the likes of Dr. Miro Moreau, the arrested Lieutenant Jordan. I met him in Lagos at NTA in one of those struggling times. So he became a major mentor to me. Then we were already in the business, already
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what has changed about the movie industry today?
A lot. Budget has changed. There are more people wanting to intentionally be professional. 20 years ago, there was no Benin Film Academy, but there's an academy. We just graduated some persons the other day for 8 years, thanks to the Millennium University. We have sustained an academy in Benin where children work to adults. We just last 2 years graduated a 68-year-old army retiree who now wants to pursue a course in that. So a lot is changing, and we are getting moving more global. Our works has crossed the shores of Nigeria. Our works are competing favorably with other international works. You go to Netflix, you are seeing our works there, and you cannot practically be able to differentiate production that were made here and the ones that are made abroad. So we keep moving. So there has been very consistent movement. Yes, quite challenging, wanting to achieve what our counterparts abroad achieved because of the enormity of resources that is available for them, and the environment supports what they are doing. Unlike here, I'm not sure it would be possible to just block an entire road here and say, I want to make a film. Or where do you have a lot of broken roads everywhere? Do you have those smooth sail? I was telling people in Enugu, where I went to deliver a paper some days ago, that the first time I was in America, the first place I went to in the US was in California. When I got out earlier, I was surprised from the airport that there were broken roads. But the film does not portray that. They are going to water the road before they shoot. But at night, you see everywhere glittering and all that. So a deliberate, intentional work to present a better picture of their society. So these are the kind of encouragement that needs to come into play in what we are doing.
So how much of such encouragement do you want to see government, play in this part of the world to encourage their production? And then secondly, what's your take on this seeming takeover by skit makers in terms of the movie industry and all of that we see today?
There's no takeover. I will not correct that. There's no takeover. Every time people come up to do their bit, and that's the way it is. The business of filmmaking is the king of all entertainment, because in the course of making a film, I will need music to be played. I have to have something to play. I will need artworks to be displayed. We call it production design. I will get an artist to paint something to put on the wall. I will need makeup. I need to get someone to make makeup. So there's nowhere in the world you can equate the business of filmmaking to any other art, because the business of filmmaking encompasses the totality of every other art. So skit makers, no matter what they have done, everybody wants to end up in a film. They want to end up in a film. They feel proud and feel more accomplished featuring in the film, and that's the truth of the matter. So you see a lot of them also feel inadequate with what they are doing and want to make a movie. So the film industry is the king of all entertainment, the business of entertainment. So there's no contention in that. As for what we want from government, I keep saying this. The business of filmmaking is more serious as it is being presently taken by government. But there's a lot changing. I was surprised to see a goodwill message sent by the Honorable Minister for Arts, Culture and Digital Economy to me, celebrating my 30 years anniversary, which means they are aware
of this impact.
Of this impact that we're making. And it was so emotional, the kind of message. She's on video, produced by them. So we're making impact. It's now localizing it.
That's where the challenge is.
That's where the challenge is. Our people must know, everyone is beyond politics, which is what is eating us up here. Everything must not be politicized. Everything has to do with PDP, APC, or this one. No. Because the onus of repositioning, the onus of projection, the onus of this is the way we want our society to be. We just came back from a conference in Abuja. I was in Enugu as a keynote speaker, and the topic was Nollywood and security.
Yeah.
How would you draw a synergy? Do you know that before men went to space, there was a movie called Space 1999. Yeah. As at that time, there was no man in space. It was through the movie it was projected. Yeah. So the redesigning and remaking of our society squarely lies on think tanks from the creative industry. They may see it as a joke, but it's no joke. Some come, like I've made a film called African Heroes, where police arrested some musical artists. They said they were dressed roughly. And that. It was an identity. Why would you profile a man because of what he's wearing? Yes, dressed the way you want to be addressed, but this aligns with his profession. They were arrested. And the DPO came and said, no, you guys arrested these guys wrongly. Apologized to them and gave them money to buy water they are living. People walked out of the hall. I said, no, it may not be so now, but this is the Nigerian police that I want to see. So the critical position of the motion picture practitioners in reshaping our society should be critically looked into in Edo State for better results.
All right, as we conclude now, how do you want to see Lancelot in the next 30 years?
We want to have, most times we are very misconstrued. It used to hurt me, but not anymore. A man must live his life, that's the way it is. What is imperative is the goodness in your heart that you feel that you cannot really go out to hurt anybody. So I would have prayed for better understanding of my person. I want a better society. I really want a better society. On the road always is very annoying. Edo State needs to have a special task force for the remaking of minds. The drivers on the road, they need to be told that this is a society, it's not a jungle. The bus drivers, a lot. So in the next 30 years, I want to be seen as that reformer who means well for his society and want to see a better society and bequeath it to generations yet unborn.
All right. Thank you very much, Lance. If I have more time, probably would love to talk to you.
I need to present this to you.
Oh, fantastic.
Please, before you were some of the souvenirs at my the Gov at 30 celebration. Wow. Very importantly is this, and I look for this side for you, my friend, and in saluting
thank you.
This station for all they have done in the promotion and projection of arts and all of that. So it plenty. This, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
For you.
Wow.
And
wow. Thank you.
This.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Lance.
And that.
Wow.
So.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me put this here. Thank you very much. And congratulations one more time.
Thank you so much.
Okay, my colleague Joseph is already on standby, waiting patiently to take over right now and right away. I mean, it will not be out of place, Joseph. I mean, see you one of cast, Lancelot cast you one of the movies to act, not as an Alhaji, as Mr. President, or as Mr. Governor, or even as a minister. He's not going to pay you in Naira. You're going to be paid in dollars.
Yeah, a very beautiful discussion there with the veteran Lancelot Imaswen. It talks so much, and of course, we just hope that the government of Edo State will take heed to what he said, especially the last line. Edo State is a society. I mean, look at how people behave. The time has come for some bit of sanity. So it's a good one there. And also thank you for recognizing ITV and presenting some gift to ITV. All right, quickly we go to our own share of the program, which is to take a look at what the lawmakers are saying concerning insecurity and particularly the need to have state policing or not. And to do this, I have with me a legal practitioner based in Abuja with us in the studio, Barrister Abdul Karim Musa. A very good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Barrister Musa, you know that there's so much talk about state police, and it's part of the constitutional amendment ongoing, where the Deputy Senate President, Senator Barrow, as well as the Deputy Speaker, Kalu, they've chaired this in both chambers and have gone round. Part of that document have been submitted, and the debate will be on as soon as possible. Let's hear your perspective, legal perspective on it.
Well, from a legal standpoint, the provision for the police is founded on the constitutional provision, the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as per section 214 and 215 of the Constitution, makes provision for the establishment of the Nigerian Police Force. And in that section, in relation to this issue of state policing, by section 215 subsection 4, the governor is recognized as the chief security officer of every state. That being the case, it means that ordinarily the Constitution recognized the power to give to issues of it was not the government, it took left hand when in the provision thereafter the Constitution provides that when such instruction is given to the Commissioner of Police in a state by the governor, the Commissioner may seek further instruction or superior authority in the police. So the governor,
so which means if a directive is given to the CP may want to confirm whether to proceed or not with the AIG, DIG. Yes, he cannot go straight to the IG in most cases.
Yes, so that's the situation we have. But ordinarily, when you look at the idea behind state policing, it's a beautiful idea because it causes for faster response. When there is a situation in the local areas, in the states, and you have state police, there will be opportunity for the police to respond faster. You will also see that one of the advantages also is that the state police will have intimate knowledge of the terrain, of the community, of the people that they are meant to secure. And so it will engender communication with these people as regards the problem, the security challenges that they have. And also, when mapping out strategies to address security concerns, they will have specific strategies that will address specific areas and society, because the cause of insecurity ranges from one community is different. The cause of insecurity in one community is different from the cause of insecurity in another community. So the strategies must be different. So these are the advantages for state policing. But I have an anxious moment with regards to the idea of state policing regarding the maturity of our society and the capacity that we have to manage power. When you see the draconian and authoritarian way that Nigerian leaders, Nigerian governors operate, even with the police as presently constituted, when you see how the powers of these governors are being abused, how they expend from even the fiscal aspect of it, they expend their security vote unaccounted for, they engage police officers, their entourage, you become anxious as to what would they now do if they are given opportunity to have a state police where they are the alpha and omega of the operation of the state police. So I have a problem with the possibility that governors will abuse that power, because we do not have the political maturity to manage the system. Because if you look at what our elections are characterized by, the elections are characterized by high level of vote buying, rigging, violence, occasioned by these persons who eventually become governors. So if without...
Allegedly.
We can tell.
Allegedly, because most time you discover that almost every candidate has a way or the other of reaching out to voters.
Yes.
And most time it's the man that can go all the way.
That eventually will.
Yes.
I know
yes.
this for because being a lawyer, I've been privileged to represent a couple of government election please and tell almost all the candidates in an election are complicit in election crimes. Because, like I did a write-up in the past, that election crime is not just vote buying or violence. There are certain conducts that when carried out within the premises where voting is taking place, it's already a crime. So you see all of them participate in it, and it's like the worst or the person who has the most capacity for violence
resources
eventually prevail. So this is one of the concerns we have, that if you give these guys the opportunity to man a state police, then you have just handed over to the governors unlimited power of violence, uncheckered power. Look at what is happening in states now. In most states of this country, the houses of assembly have no...
Ladies and gentlemen, what we are seeing on the stage is the Toro Cultural Place of Quebec. On the other side, we have the Gymnastic Boys. Gymnastic Boys, we don't know what we want to do now. We are bringing upstairs. We are at the first floor. We don't know what we are going to do in the second floor.
Cannot engage to tackle insecurity. So the fact that we have a state police is not a messianic solution that once you have state police, you are going to cure all the problems of insecurity in the state. So anything that the governors would have done or the state police would have done, let the police as presently constituted incorporate it into their strategy. Because if you say, for instance, like I made an argument now, that the state police will have intimate knowledge of the environment and the terrain and the community and the persons there, so they can deal with insecurity challenges faster and more effectively. So now, if the police feels that argument so paramount, or the legislators feel that that argument is so paramount, then as the police that is presently constituted should go and employ people from the communities and post them to that same communities, but let the control of their activities still be from the federal government, from a central government. So that's an argument, but we have not even looked at the other side of it. Now, many states may have capacity problems because you have a governor who is finding it difficult to pay minimum wage. As meager as that is, where is he going to get the resources?
No, who does not want to pay because they are receiving so much from the center?
Okay, they are receiving so much from the center. But now, you see, that's the misfortune. So now, there may be capacity problems because their state's capacity in terms of resources differ. So you might employ people and end up finding it difficult to pay them. And when you cannot pay them, you have empowered people into crime.
Okay, now let's look at this way. Whether it's state policing or the presently constituted style, federal police, the resources still come from the government, from the federated revenue, right?
Yes.
If you have state police,
yes,
the same resources is going to come from the center, because it comes from the center to the state and then the local government. So can we not have a system whereby we increase the staff strength or the personnel, let them be available at all time?
Yes.
You know, patrolling 24/7. If that is done, will it not address the crave for state policing? Because
yes,
they can now address insecurity and the need for state policing may not be required.
Yes, exactly. One of the problems we have in the Nigerian police force today is understaffing. Because as at the last time I checked, I think the total number of policemen that we have was about 400,000. Compared to the Nigerian population of 250 million, if you do the mathematics, it's like one single policeman is meant to guide some people. And that is impracticable, it's not visible. So I agree with you that the increase in manpower would certainly reduce the clamor and the need for state policing. I find it I'm very worried, because if anybody is advancing for state policing, it's as if the person is not alive to the realities of Nigeria and how the tendency for an average Nigerian to abuse power. An average Nigerian moves around with policemen for the purpose of his personal security. In the course of that movement, if he has an altercation with a fellow Nigerian, the tendencies are that he will try to engage the police to abuse, harass, and intimidate his fellow Nigerian.
Even if he didn't give them the approval to do that,
the policemen are eager
to appease
these people for the personal benefit they stand to accrue. So this is why we as a society, we have not come to the point. You may give example of America, but the culture and the political maturity that these people have is different from what we have here. Now, I just want to say this finally on this note, that you see, in America, in Canada, and in some of these places that we look up to, elections are not as violent as we have them here. And it is not because the security architecture is too powerful. In some polling booths, you will not see policemen. And nobody will constitute nuisance in that environment.
Yeah, because they use technology.
They use technology.
They constitute nuisance. Technology will pick you.
Yes, but we have sufficient technology, at least from the Electoral Act of 2023 that we have. We should have had a very fantastic election, because we have what we call beavers machines. By beavers machine, it was not possible to rig, because there is a front end and there's what you do from the physical face of the machines, and then there's a back end. So if 100 people are registered, you cannot have more than 100 voters, because a person who was not registered and who was not accredited to vote cannot vote. So what we had people do rigging elections, the people who rigged elections in the last election cycle did it manually, but the machines were there to confirm. Unfortunately, this brings in the problem of the judiciary.
With that act, you cannot even be given a ballot if the beavers machine did not
accredit you. Yes. So the machines.
So the first thing in the polling unit is that you present your PVC.
Yes.
And the machine will accredit you.
Yes.
If it does not, you can't proceed to the next level.
Yes. So, sir, look at what happened. In the beavers machines worked perfectly. So what you see is that people were altering results, mutilating results manually. When we went to court and we challenged some of the polling units, presented the beavers machines. But the problem of the judiciary.
No, but you also know that in that act there is a provision for incident form.
No. That was not the issue.
Yeah, because there are areas where network is a challenge. And because if network is a challenge, the incident form will now take a look, will now do the job of the beavers machine, because there are no networks.
Yes, that's perfect. But the areas that there were no network challenges, what was contained in the beavers was not recognized by court. The court refused to recognize it when we presented it to court. In several states, it first happened in Nasarawa State, where beavers machine for the first time was tendered in Nigeria to show that what is in beavers is different from what was announced and what was written on the paper. The court admitted it and gave judgment in favor of the petitioner in that matter. Unfortunately, on appeal, they said the beavers machines were not opened. In the case of Kogi State, which was the next time beavers machines, petitioners tendered the beavers machines, opened it, called an INEC person to open and display it in court to show what was correctly imputed in the beavers machines. The court ended up saying that the INEC officer who came did not write his statement at the beginning of the petition. He did not have a witness
at the lower court.
Yes, at the election petition tribunal. So these are problems that the judiciary itself have. So even when you have technology in place to assist the process and the system, you still have human errors, human problems of interpretation. So we are not a society that is matured for state policing. So my position and my suggestion is that let us approach this issue of policing gradually. Let us approach it patiently. Whatever we need to put in place should be to foster effectiveness in the current system that
So
we
you
have.
want it to be suspended for now?
Yes, certainly.
So the suspension should last how many years?
No, you see, the suspension of state policing does not, state police is not automatic solution to Nigerian problems. So we can improve on the system that we have. And it is my position and argument that we should increase the manpower, the number of police officers we have, and deploy them to every region, sufficient number of policemen, deploy them. Their welfare should be properly taken care of so that they do not have reason to be involved in criminal activities, because the police is also complicit sometimes in these insecurity complaints that we have, because you cannot blame a man whose annual earnings is not more than ₦1 million and he's having an AK-47 and he has the opportunity to be in an environment where nobody would supervise him, so he can interact with people, the perpetrators of insecurity.
He has also studied the environment.
He has also studied the environment. He knows the leeway. So he can decide to go to a place and stay there when he knows that insecurity is coming through this place and he's still on his duty post. If you are, an armed robber is coming into this building and there are 5 doors, and I have communication with one of the armed robbers coming through the first door, I can go and stand on the 5th door and I'm still on duty. And the armed robber will come in and go out. But we need to demotivate the tendency to be involved or participant or participating in crime by the police officer, so their welfare must be taken care of properly. And we must deal with other issues first. There must be electoral reform. When we successfully reform our electoral process, because one of the major risks of having state police is what the politicians themselves will use the state police for during election. So until we have a perfect electoral reform, we cannot clamor for state policing in Nigeria.
Okay, I'm sure that that point is clearly taken by, of course, relevant authorities. But before we go, let me get your perspective concerning the name calling or name mentioning of one of the ministers by the bad guys, saying is one of their sponsors. This is coming not as a shock to many people, because that has been on the public domain,
yes.
But as a lawyer, what do you make of it?
Well, it is quite a misfortune that we are in a place where a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is being indicted, a minister of defense is being indicted for sponsoring terrorism. It's unfortunate, and it calls for a very speedy action on the part of the president. In cases like this, it shouldn't be taken leisurely. There should be speedy intervention to investigate the character of this person who is being consistently accused of participating in terrorism sponsorship. But to speak from a legal point of view, at this point it is an allegation. And there are possibilities that this allegation are being thrown in by the terrorists in order to distract Nigeria or to destabilize the security architecture or structure, to cause distrust and animosity within the structure. So while acting on this information, we must act intelligently, and investigation must be speedily conducted to determine if there is any link of this character with the terrorists. And where there is a link, the government should not hesitate in speedily prosecuting the character.
But can you investigate without the availability of the man who alleges?
Yes, you can investigate. The police can, even by the laws that we have, an ordinary Nigerian can even arrest when you suspect a crime. You can arrest somebody and to the police station when you suspect. So investigation becomes expedient upon suspicion. The moment I suspect, the moment somebody alleged, then the right to investigate has been invoked, and investigation can commence immediately. So if the police and the necessary agencies are serious about their job, then they should launch an immediate investigation into these allegations, because these allegations are quite heinous. they are unpalatable. In fact, it fosters or engenders possibility of international interference with our local activities. Why? Because when a state gets to a point where those in power, government in power, becomes complicit or allegedly so in issues of terrorism and insecurity, then the UN may have a good ground to come into the matter. Some of us have argued that when Trump threatened to intervene in the issues of terrorism, alleged
and genocidal
genocide in Nigeria, we said he may not have the authority to do so because Nigeria is a sovereign state with its own identity, with its own constitution, with its own recognized leadership. So we argue that he may not have the right to do so. But then there are certain issues when a government is being run by terrorist characters, then you can no longer argue that you are a sovereign state because you have begun to show characters of a failing state.
But again, even a section of the UN Charter that even gives room for the United States to, on its own,
yes,
survey the situation.
Yes, because they are members of the Security Council, so they have the mandate to where they have sufficiently established a case of terrorism, genocide, intervene in that matter. And how much more? What else do you need to justify allegations of genocide and terrorism sponsorship if the people in government are being indicted? The people who ordinarily should be making argument, oh, we're on top of the matter. They say you are the one who is causing it. So there's no confidence in the authority that is meant to protect the life and properties of the people who are complaining that they are being killed every day. And the authorities who should have doused the tension is now being alleged to be the person for perpetrating it. So in the interest of our international image, the president and the government of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu should take swift steps to disassociate itself from characters that are being accused of participating in terrorism.
Okay. Also, legally speaking, I know that he who alleges must prove.
Yes.
So how do we get the bandit to come and prove? Because you need to prove with documents how
now
he
in this case,
you,
the bandit
how he constantly take care of you in terms of finances, in terms of other materials, food, that should be, you should be able to prove that really you know him and he has been taking good care of you.
Yes. So now the way it happens, the architecture of the administration of criminal justice system is this. If you allege that somebody is committing a crime, you are merely a nominal complainant. You are not the complainant. Do you know who the complainant is? The police, the EFCC, the authority that is charging you to court is the one complaining against you, not the person that reported you. So the person that reported you is a nominal complainant, is just a witness that they may call if necessary to come and prove the allegation. But if there are other materials sufficient to prove that the allegation against you is correct, they don't even need the person that made the allegation.
The nominal complainant.
The nominal complainant. So what the nominal complainant has to do is to raise an allegation or suspicion. Then the onus shifts to the security agencies to now conduct investigation and then charge the person upon appropriate laws to court. And during the investigation, they are expected to obtain certain materials, evidence, documents, exhibits that would support the allegations or the charge against the person. Once they have sufficient materials, which they will compile in the charge, add to the charge what we call proofs of evidence, all the evidence they have against this person, then they can appear in court, charge the person takes his plea, they make their case against the person. So the need for the terrorists to come and prove does not even arise.
So saying that the police can go ahead or DSS can go ahead and
make arrests and initiate investigation, use technology to get necessary information they need, and if they find sufficient information to believe that this person has committed a crime, then they can charge him to court.
Is it also true that most of the bad guys we see around are, sponsored at one time or the other? Because that argument has always been there, and with what those guys are saying now is shocking.
Well, it's unfortunate that it is true that these terrorists, these bandits, are people who are being sponsored by those in power. Because think about it, how much is the cost of an AK-47? Many Nigerians cannot afford it. So how come somebody in the bush is affording AK-47? Certainly he's being sponsored. Now, talking about the intent of those sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria, there are several reasons. Some of them are people who were sponsored to protect politicians during their tenure in office, during their election. And by the time these guys are weaponized and empowered to execute violence and giving proper materials and tools of force, when the time comes to retreat, some of the people who empower them may not be able to control anymore out of other laws. Powerful Nigerians engender this violence in these areas for personal profit of tapping and mining the resources that are located within these areas unaccounted for. Because in a situation where there is violence in a particular area, nobody will inhabit the place. Therefore, any kind of illegal mining going on in those locations will not be accounted for by the government. So these are part of the issues that, like you rightly said, the people consider in Nigeria as...
but can we ever get out of this?
Certainly we can. It just takes the seriousness and the willpower of the Nigerian government. It takes the seriousness and the willpower of the Nigerian government, because it is not possible that they have a higher technology than
the military.
The military is being sponsored, funded by the government. Yes, the terrorists are being funded, but the funding is not structural. Today they are accusing this person of funding them. Tomorrow they are accusing another person. Next tomorrow they are kidnapping people to raise funds. So you see that they don't have a structured source of financing. But Nigeria has a budget allocated to these things. So it takes seriousness. Where are the people who use means of communication, online means of communication, to post videos online, and the government is finding it difficult
to trace them.
It just shows the level of laid-backness of our security architecture, and the world cannot really take us seriously when it comes to issues of security, because there are situations that can be tackled by a local police outlet in advanced countries being national issues. We have been making arguments. How many drones do Nigerians have? Why do Nigerians not have drones? At least let there be drones that we hear that, oh, maybe a Nigerian army drone was shot down.
Which means there are drones.
Yes.
Which will mean that we have drones.
We have drones. So now we don't have. We are not using those technology to address, because people are in the bush, you say you cannot trace them. So it's really it's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense that we are at this level, at this point. We purport to be the giant of Africa, but we have not demonstrated that giantile nature in terms of the technology that we use in addressing our insecurities. How can a giant be defeated by a bandit in the bush? So it's unfortunate that Nigeria has not
bandit is faceless. That's the challenge. That's why the giant is having a bit of difficulty. But we just hope that in no distant time this issue will be resolved. We, like the lawyer said, we have so much in terms of resources to actually win this war. What is the challenge? So let me get your concluding word on this as we wrap up.
Well, nothing much to say other than to send a message to the government, the federal government, to use its influence to address the legislatures on the point that Nigeria is not yet matured to have state policing, and not just to use the influence to compel that bill be discarded and not enacted into law, but to also put measures in place to ameliorate the need for state policing. Because if there are more manpower, the welfare of the police officers are taken care of, and police are deployed to the areas where necessary, rather than following big men, politicians, and celebrities, then we will have less complaint about state policing. So if there's no high level of insecurity, anybody clamoring for state policing would be seen as doing so for their personal benefit. So it's my advice to the federal government to discard and discourage the idea of state policing, but not just to do so, but to invest resources and commitment into ensuring that there's stability in the security system of Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Barrister Abdul Karim Musa, for your time with us on the program.
Thank you so much for having me, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for that interesting views of yours. All right, viewers, this is where we wrap up this discussion segment, and we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Lagos Network Center will be the next for the continuation of the program. Stay with us.
ITV, certainly the best.
a cocoa masquerades from Ute village.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We're still on TMI this beautiful morning, and I am Marcelina Unkwa. And our guest this morning is Mr. Dakpo Adara Mewa. Hello, good morning.
So good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much for coming. So Mr. Dakpo is a political public analyst. So this beautiful morning, we're going to be talking about the 8th ECOWAS Summit, addressing authority, coup, and democratic stability. We saw that yesterday, the 68th ordinary section of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government officially started yesterday in Abuja, Nigeria, where leaders from across West are gathering at the House Conference Center for one of the most consequential regional meetings of the year. President Kashim Shettima, was our President Bola Ahmed, and, who is the host of the event, underscores a Nigerian central role in the regional bloc agenda, heightening instability in the region. And we saw the president in West African country, the President John Dramani Mahama of Ghana, and also Adama Barrow of Ghana, and other heads from Liberia, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Togo, and the Republic were also played. And the main issue why they always come for the summit is to look at coup plotting that just happened in public, and sit together and look for a solution to all those in West Africa, not just Nigeria now. And Mr. Dakpo, I want to ask, can Nigeria realistically lead global, lead regional city when security remains a major problem in our country?
And we definitely have the potential to lead in that area. We have our challenges, and unfortunately, the challenges have exacerbated in the last 6 months. We've seen unprecedented of intensity, the government doing what they can to resolve that. But it doesn't stop us from leading the way. I think, compared to many African countries, we're not where we need to be. We're still front in a way, and so we can provide that. But then, you have to get the, what's that saying, a log that eye before you advise your neighbor. So the first place to start would obviously us straightening out our own security situation and be of any influence to the countries around us.
I mean, that is what a lot of persons are saying, our own problems. The Senate recently approved the, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu send the message that it should troop to Benin Republic for the issue, and the Senate approves it. And a lot of Nigerians are saying that we have problems. Why don't we solve problems first? I mean, before assisting our country.
Well, what they an isolationist world view, if you will. It's almost as if your neighbor's house, you sit down at home and you don't help him pour water because you say that's his own problem. But the truth, if you leave that fire long, it will spread and catch your own house, right? So Nigeria getting involved and trying to help solve the issues is needed in order to create stability within West Africa, to reduce the amount of countries that are falling into dictatorships. But unfortunately, tackle the core problem as to why these things are happening, what was in West Africa. That's where we really evaluate.
And some critics at this point says ECOWAS focuses more on reacting to coup than preventing them. What should change at this point?
Yeah, definitely. What makes conditions right? I think that's the question to ask ourselves. Is ECOWAS prevent that? You take a look at Benin, for example, right? There have been a lot of constitutional changes in Benin over the last 5 years under this, right, who have limited democracy. As of the last election, the main opposition was not qualified to run in the election. That's unprecedented, right? So when you have African leaders who are strongly democratic values, you have high levels of insecurity. The population don't feel like they're making any progress whatsoever. It is a ripe environment for a coup. Most African states, most West African countries are full of young people who are hopeful for the future. And leaders are unable to deliver. They are more likely to welcome anybody who seems like a savior. Although that's what the key thing there is, seems like a savior, because if history has taught us is that quite often this military dictators come in, they want to save the country, they say they're going to change, but in reality they themselves be the virus, the virus that they're trying to cure.
Become the virus that they're trying to cure. Okay, point, I want you to tell me, can Nigeria realistically lead regional security? We talked about what does that gain or lose from taking the lead in ECOWAS security interventions? What do you think this stands to gain or lose from taking the lead?
Well, there's a contagion effect when it comes to coups, right? All of a sudden we had some stability in Africa. Let's even go far back enough. You see that many went back to democracy. We all fought our post-colonial together, a fight against colonialism, and one after we gained independence, right? Roughly clustered around the same time. Thereafter, a lot of our countries to military dictatorship, and thereafter we all again the other went back to democracy, and now it's happening. So it is shown that they stemmed this because it's a successful coup. It sent a message to young, ambitious people within neighboring countries. But this thing is possible. And when you have the conditions, again, it goes back to the conditions that are ripe for a coup. You have insecurity. The government is unable to protect the lives and well-being of its citizens. You have corruption. So that means you have a swollen political class who take action, who live lives far beyond the means of the ordinary people. They send a message that they don't care, lords of all. They manipulate democratic institutions. So they create an environment for any, unsavory character to come up and say he's going to be the hero and he's going to save the nation, right? So we need to the core. We need to help other countries tackle it as well, because if not, we have that contagion. I think it was less than 2 months ago we were talking about there was, stories coup in Nigeria, coup plus. So this is why we have to ensure that things stop spreading.
Okay. So ECOWAS, how do you think they can address the root cause of coup? Poor governance, poverty, and weak institutions.
Stop institutions. Particularly, let's start electoral body in our country. Right? We all know what happened at the last election. We saw it. We saw our electoral body say they're going to submit results electronically, and halfway through their mind. We know that these things are happening. We see interferences in state elections. We see videos of people being arrested. We see that that our leaders are manipulating the institutions of state, intentionally keeping them weak in a big hold on to power. Those are the problems. So they need to step back and let go of this and let democracy take its course. We need true leadership, particularly for us as Nigerians, because without, we are putting in danger this very democracy that we have. And I know we as Nigerians, we love to love to complain, we love to say, oh, this is not working, this is not working. I assure you, we are democracy, the whole.
So you would not prefer military regime?
Not at all. institutions, right? And no matter how military dictatorship starts, they often start with a lot of glamour.
Some days, there comes the Ugemobo Festival, which the Oba celebrates outside the palace gate. A pavilion is built of red cloth where rites are performed to drive away all evil spirits still unsatisfied by the year's sacrifices. The Emobo Festival is to commemorate an event in Benin history which dates back to 1504 AD.
Yari yari, Oba Tope!
The Oba of Benin added a colorful mood to the year's celebration as he walks round the city center amidst cheers.
updates. I am Chukufumnanya Digwe. Now, the governor of Edo State, Senator Monday Okpebholo, has directed contractors handling various infrastructure projects across the state to fully maximize the dry season window to ensure timely completion. Senator Okpebholo gave the directive during an unscheduled on-the-spot inspection of the ongoing construction of Ogege Road and Old Sapler Road in Ipoba Oha local government area. Government House correspondent Kingsley Uchegbu reports.
As the dry season sets in, the need for contractors handling various infrastructure projects across the state to intensify work was emphasized during this routine project inspection by Governor Okpebholo. Speaking during the inspection, the governor said it was important for him to personally assess the level of progress on the road construction projects. He noted that the dry season presents an opportunity for faster execution and timely delivery of projects by contractors while expressing satisfaction with the quality of work being carried out. Governor Okpebholo stressed that the pace of work must be increased to meet agreed delivery timelines.
They are doing very well, and I still need them to buckle up to be faster than what I'm seeing now, because we just have 5 months for the dry season.
The 4.1-kilometer Ogege Osapler Road project was initiated by Governor Okpebholo following safety concerns raised by residents after a child was reportedly swept away by floodwaters in the area. Kingsley Uchegbu, ITV News.
Now, a former managing director of National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, Bola Oyebamiji, has emerged as the APC flag bearer for the August 8, 2026 Osun governorship election. Chairman of the Osun State Governorship Primary Election Committee and Governor of Edo State, Senator Monday Okpebholo, in company with party leaders, witnessed the adoption of Oyebamiji as the consensus candidate by the party's 1,660 party delegates. Government House correspondent Kingsley Uchegbu has details.
By the power conferred on me as the chairman of this primary election, I hereby confirm Bola Oyebamiji as the sole candidate of APC.
Motion for the adoption of Bola Oyebamiji as the consensus candidate was moved by Kunle Rashid Adegoke, SAN, and seconded by Senator Babajide Omorare. The nomination proposal was unanimously accepted by party delegates, members, and other aspirants, leading to the emergence of Bola Oyebamiji as the APC flag bearer for the August 8, 2026 governorship election in Osun State.
We are committed to elevating the standard of living for every Osun resident.
Chairman Osun State Primary Election Committee, Senator Monday Okpebholo, who addressed party leaders, delegates, and other stakeholders at Ebolua International School, Osogbo, commended the peaceful conduct of the primary as a reflection of the collective resolve of party members to move forward as one family.
1,660 delegates gathered here today. I salute your dedication. You represent the heartbeat of our internal democracy. Your presence here to affirm our candidate shows loyalty, responsibility, and commitment to the future of Osun State.
Governor of Ondo State, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, served as co-chairman of the committee, while the governor of Lagos State was represented by his deputy. Governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Abdullahi Sule, and the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, were among other party leaders in attendance. Kingsley Uchegbu, ITV News.
Across the Christian faith, end-of-year Thanksgiving remains a sacred moment to reflect on God's faithfulness, appreciate His mercies, and commit the coming year into His hands. That spiritual significance came alive on Sunday at God's Historic Chapel, GRA, Benin City, during its annual harvest and Thanksgiving, as worshippers gathered to offer gratitude through joyful praise and giving. Donald Damie reports that a former governor of Edo State, Chief Lucky Igbenedion, and several dignitaries graced the event.
Across Christendom, end of year Thanksgiving is viewed as a solemn yet joyful opportunity to acknowledge God's guidance, protection, and provision throughout the year. The belief was vividly expressed at God Historic Chapel, GROA Benin City, during the church annual harvest Thanksgiving service. The colorful ceremony was formally declared open by a former governor of Edo State, Chief Dr. Lucky Nosaka Igbenedion, accompanied with several dignitaries who also offered thanks to God.
We must continue to thank our Lord Jesus Christ. You have thanked him up to this point. You will thank him to the end of the year. You also thank him next year from beginning to the end.
The minister in charge of the church, Reverend Osamu Jame Afe, explained that the harvest Thanksgiving is not only a season of giving, but also a reminder of God's enduring grace and the importance of gratitude as a core principle of Christian living.
You are able to eat, you are able to enjoy, you are able to have a nice time. It's not by your power, it's by the power of God.
Some members and invited guests reflected on the year, drawing to a close, expressing renewed hope, faith, and trust in God for the year ahead.
It's a wonderful thing to be in this chapel, and this is one of the great works of our Father, Chief Gabriel Igbenedion, and I think it was a wonderful service.
This year's annual harvest and Thanksgiving of God Historic Chapel was themed Grace That Covers. Executive Director of Operations of ITV and Radio, Chief Eda Ogbedo Wonse, attended this year's annual harvest and Thanksgiving of God Historic Chapel with the theme Grace That Covers. From Benin, Donald Ehiminyen, ITV News.
In another report, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun, has said that the presidential directive ordering the withdrawal of police officers attached to very important personalities as part of measures to combat rising insecurity in the country. The media aide to the CJN, Toby Soniyi, stated that the directive does not affect judges. His comments are coming on the heels of the complaint by the Chief Judge of Taraba State, Justice Joe Agia, last Tuesday that police orderlies attached to judges in the state had been withdrawn, warning that the development poses a significant risk in security. Sonoyi said he was not aware that the police orderlies attached to judges had been withdrawn, wondering why such action would be taken since judges were exempted from the directive. He added that other judges had yet to complain that their orderlies had been withdrawn. Meanwhile, the Taraba State Commissioner of Police, Betty Sokma, responding to Justice Agia, said the court's orderlies had not been withdrawn. She explained that the policy affected only personal police escorts and guards, not officers assigned to court duties or posted to judges' residences. Moving on, the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Taminu Turaki, has expressed the party's readiness to win the upcoming off-season governorship elections in Osun and Ekiti states. Turaki spoke after a closed-door meeting with former President Olusegun Obasanjo at his presidential library residence in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. Paying tribute to Chief Obasanjo and other founding fathers of the party, Turaki stated that the PDP is more determined than ever to reclaim its rightful position in Nigeria's political arena. He was accompanied by former Senate President and Chairman of the PDP Board of Trustees, Adolphus Wabara, former Governor of Niger State, Muazu Babangida, former Governor of Plateau State, Jonah Jang, former Deputy Governor of Oyo State, Taufik Arakbaja, and Ogun State PDP Chairman, Abayomi Tella, among others. Now, youths from the northern and southern parts of the country on Saturday converged on Kaduna, where they signed a peace accord aimed at promoting national unity and forging a common front to enhance their relevance in Nigeria's political and economic developments. The meeting held at the historic Arewa House, Kaduna, was organized by the National Youth Alliance and brought together youth representatives from the Southeast, South-South, and Southwest, alongside their counterparts from the North. The gathering culminated in the signing of a peace accord christened the birthing of a new Nigeria, with participants pledging to eschew ethnic and religious divisions and to speak with one voice in the interest of national cohesion and democratic stability ahead of the 2027 elections. Now with that report, we've come to the end of ITV News Updates. I am Chukufum Nanya Digwe. Many thanks for staying tuned in. Up next is TMI Socials. Good morning.